Bushcraft 412. Today we're going to do my first video on home defense. This is a kind of a video I've not wanted to do for a while, to be honest, because of trolls. The trolls out there just really have, they just can't accept any like gun video or defense video and just kind of accept it. They always have to nitpick every little thing and every little choice you make, and I'm going to kind of address some of those things they nitpick as we go along, but bear in mind, this video is opinion, and my opinion is based on, number one, my experience with firearms and weapons, number two, my experience in that I have been, an armed security guard at one point in my life. I have done security, I've done, dangerous jobs, and do know a thing or two about taking care of myself. So, with that said, let's get into this. First of all, when you're defending your home, the first and biggest thing to your home is your front door. And that's the area that needs to be the best protected. And if you live in an area where it may be high crime, one of the best investments to your home may be to get yourself a good steel front door. Or if you can't get a steel front door, like if you're a renter or something like that, making sure you have a good deadbolt or something, to keep the bad guys out. Because that's your first line of defense. And people always seem to kind of brush over that. When it comes down to it, when people send me messages about defending their home, the first thing I tell them is, if you can, get yourself a good door. I have 2 steel doors between me and the outside world. I feel, pretty safe in my current residence because, even if someone makes it to 1, by the time they make it to the 2nd, I'm going to hear them and I'm going to be ready. With that said, I think your next good option is the pump shotgun. Pump shotguns you can get pretty cheap. You can get some new in the neighborhood of $200 up to $2,000, depending on what you want to buy, what accessories, what configurations. There's, a different setup for a shotgun for every need you could possibly want. So if you want a full-size hunting shotgun, you can go out and buy it. If you want a short pistol grip tactical shotgun with a short barrel, you can buy it. So, and not to mention that, but there's a good market for used shotguns out there, and you can generally get used ones for fairly cheap. They don't hold, especially the low-end ones, just don't hold their value as good as other guns. So you can often, I see, used ones on sale sometimes for $150 or even $100. As for ammo, I highly recommend a buckshot. And one of the things is you have to bear in mind, if you have kids in your house, or if you have people living with you or neighbors, if you're in an apartment building, you have to consider them and bear in mind, AK-47s and AR-15s are cool guns, but you have to remember they may penetrate through many, many walls. And if you have kids or neighbors or something like that, you got to think about them in your plan. So I do recommend a pump shotgun with buckshot. I personally like number 4. Some people like bigger, heavier buckshot, but I like number 4. It spreads out nice and early, and the bullet's about the size of a 22, so it's like getting hit with, like 20 or 30 22 bullets. Really does a lot. If you haven't fired number 4 buckshot, get some and go out and fire it like a pumpkin or something like that. You'll be amazed. Now, your shotgun and your gun should not be your only line of defense. And here's one of the points for the trolls out there, because anytime I make a video about defense and I show a knife or a kubaton or pepper spray, you always get the trolls and they're like, well, you can't do that. A gun is the only way. And they cry about it, that I'm giving horrible advice and that I'm going to get people killed. Well, guess what, trolls? Not everybody in America can own a gun. There are viewers out there of mine who have felonies. Whether it was something dumb they did when they were a kid or whatever, they can't own guns. Or, they've been adjudicated mentally defective or something. Maybe they were young, you did something stupid, whatever. There is a certain part of the population that can't own guns, and there are people like in New York City who are very restricted in what they can own. So before you leave dumb troll comments about guns, remember, not everybody can own a gun. And not everybody wants a gun in their house. There are some people who have children And really, horrible toddlers who get into everything and they just can't risk having guns, even in safes, because their kids just get into everything. So, with that said, don't be a dumb troll and leave dumb comments, because I'm showing other options, because that's exactly what they are, is options that you can use. Now, I'm a believer in covering different ranges. Your shotgun, of course, will cover anything from the person 2 inches at the end of the barrel up to, yards away. Now, in your average house, you're only going to be shooting 10, 15 yards tops anyway, so a shotgun is perfect for every different range. And of course, you can use your shotgun, if you do have a nice wood stock, you can use the butt of your shotgun as a club. So the gun does double up as a close combat bludgeon as well. One of the best investments I think you can get after a shotgun is a good tactical flashlight that strobes. If you've ever had a good 150, 200 lumen flashlight shined in your eyes, it really blinds you. And that can, if someone's coming in your house and you hit the strobe on someone's eyes, it will buy you a couple of seconds in order to make the preparations you need to win the fight. So I highly recommend a good tactical flashlight that has a nice strobe feature, because you shine these things in your eyes. Holy cow, you do not believe how effective they are. They are really terrific. And of course, if you can get one that has a nice kind of skull crusher tip on it too, you can, it doubles as a kubaton for close range. So, good recommendation there. Of course, I think a pistol is always a good investment as well. For home defense, inside the home, I recommend 9mm or bigger. I think you're kind of, if someone's breaking into your home, they're obviously doing it for a reason. I think you want to go with the heavier calibers. Now, different story if you're out on the street and you're doing carry conceal. Maybe you want a smaller caliber, but for in your home, I recommend 9mm or better. And also remember, guys, when you're buying your ammo, don't buy full metal jackets for home defense. Buy a good hollow point expanding round, something for home defense. Now, granted, they are expensive, but full metal jackets are just going to punch a neat little hole in somebody. A good self-defense round is going to mushroom out and cause tremendous damage. So don't be cheap. Buy the better ammo for your home defense. And one thing too is it never hurts to have a clip, an extra clip, and only keep your home defense bullets in it. That way you have one that's ready to go somewhere in your house, whether it's in your safe or hidden in a, wherever, it's up to you depending on whether you have kids or not. But have one ready to go with a good defensive round. Of course, I keep a kubaton on the key to my gun safe. So I do, whenever I go to my gun safe, I automatically have a weapon in hand. So if by chance someone does kick in my door and I'm going to my gun safe, I already have a weapon in hand. So granted, this is not the best weapon on earth, but it is a weapon and it's something I can use close quarters on someone. So I put that right on my gun safe key, so that when I'm going for that gun safe, I'm already armed with something. Even though it's not much, it's something. Okay, say you are not allowed to own pistols. You live someplace where you can't own pistols. You don't have a shotgun, or you don't want a shotgun because of kids or whatever reasons. Another option, of course, is pepper spray. I did get pepper spray once and can attest that, wow, does it hurt and does it stop you? I mean, you really gotta be like one drugged up lunatic to shake this stuff off. I mean, it really does quite a number on you. If you can legally own pepper spray, it may not be your primary choice, but having it as a backup, someplace that you keep, maybe in your gun safe or near your gun safe or in your bedside stand, something you can get to as a last resort. Because you know what, maybe someone does break into your house and you can't get to your gun safe. So your guns are out of commission. You've got the key, so they're not getting in. But you got someone between you and your gun safe. It's good to have backups. And I keep, I've got a couple of pepper sprays actually for work. I keep one in my nightside stand. Why? Because if I do have to make a run for the gun safe, I've got two weapons. They're not the greatest weapons, but I have two weapons. One that will incapacitate, another which I can do some damage with. And of course, if I'm also bringing my flashlight, I can blind, incapacitate, and do a little damage. So I'm kind of like tripling up in that I have these smaller things near me while I'm going for a primary weapon. Of course, another good weapon to have is a knife. A lot of people disagree, and they're going to disagree, and trolls always complain, well, knives are the worst things to defend yourself with, and they send stupid private messages about how I give horrible advice, and guess what, guys? If you don't like it, unsubscribe, or just click this video off and don't watch. Leaving dumb comments, because you're 16 and you think you're, tough stuff, it isn't going to cut it on my channel. What I look for in a self-defensive knife, and this is one I keep in my bedroom at night, which I rotate it. This is not the only knife I keep near my bed. I do rotate them from time to time, but this one's here today, so I grabbed it. Is I look for a knife that is 6 to 7 inches in length, something that you can pick up, carry, not going to be too big, too bulky, and get in the way of your other items. So say, for example, if you are carrying the pistol, you can carry this in your other hand as a secondary weapon, or a third or fourth, or tuck this in your waist belt, whatever you're going to do with it. I look for like a 6 to 7 inch blade, something thick. I want a big, thick blade, something that if you get someone in the ribs or in the collarbone, it's not going to snap the blade. So I look for a really, really thick blade, preferably something with a spear point. This one's like almost like a clip point, but it's pretty close to a spear. So I look for kind of spear point, or a nice pointy, something very good for thrusting. Not so much slashing, but a good thruster. Nice and thick, not going to break on you if you hit bones or whatever. Another thing I do look for is I do like having a metal butt cap, because if you do end up, say you are fighting in your house and say, whatever, the door kicks in, someone's rushing at you, you go for the shotgun and you're trying to fire the shotgun, and shotgun's a big weapon. Say that person comes up and you're fighting over the shotgun, you got this in your belt. Not only can you give them a good stab, but you can come down with the pommel for a pommel strike. So I like the versatility in that this is a pretty good bludgeon, as well as a very thick, heavy-duty knife. Now, there's a lot of better knives out there. Don't think I'm saying, hey, buy this knife. And this one's a Schrade Extreme Survival. Excuse me. Not saying, hey, buy this knife. It's a great home defense knife. But just, I wanted to show this one because it has features that I like. It has a finger guard, so you don't have to worry about it riding up on your fingers if you do stab someone. Thick blade, metal pommel. That's what I like as for something I can use as a secondary weapon. So this works for me. I switch off between a couple others. Sometimes I carry the Ontario SP1, sometimes different things. I rotate the knives around. And like I said, having multiple range items in various places throughout your house will help you. So maybe you do have your guns in your gun safe, or maybe you have a pistol in your nightstand. That's great. But say you're not in your bedroom when someone breaks in. Say somebody gets into a window, they get in between you and your guns. I think it's important to have things throughout your house that you can get to. Granted, I'm not saying booby trap your house and turn it into something, because, you may have kids and it just may not be a possibility, but, there are things here that you can use as well. For example, like a baseball bat or a wooden dowel. Even just a plain Jane wooden dowel makes a great weapon. 2-3 foot heavy duty wooden dowel can really take the life out of your opponent in a hurry. So having a couple things around, maybe behind doors, behind a bed, in a closet, kind of creating a home that has multiple options. Because I see a lot of people's videos, and what do? They put up a nice black shiny AR-15 and say, well, I'm going to defend my home with this. Okay, that's great, but you need backup options. You need the ability to range your items, and plus, people show you AR-15s and AK-47s for home defense because it gets them good views. Because let's face it, people love nice black shiny tactical guns, but in reality, it's not feasible for everybody. First of all, some people just can't afford those guns, and secondly, like I said before, people may not be able to own the guns because of A, they may be like a felon or something for whatever reason they can't own a gun. Two, they may be too young. Many states have laws about, like pistols. You got to be 21 in New York to get a pistol. Or another thing people don't consider, the trolls don't consider, is that people may be handicapped or disabled in some way where they can't fire a gun. There's a lot of vets out there and a lot of guys who are hurt, and I get private messages every day from people saying, hey, I was in an accident or I was wounded in combat and I can't shoot anymore. What do you think's a good way to, defend my home? So before you go and leave dumb, stupid comments, think about that. My audience includes people who are stuck in urban environments, to people who are way out in the country, people who live in America, as well as other countries like the UK where you can't have guns, period. You're just not allowed to have guns. And people who are young all the way up to people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And, someone 75 years old, this may not be the first choice for them. They may not have the dexterity to fire a pistol anymore. They may look for something more like a knife or pepper spray or a kubaton or whatever. So, thinking of these, I'm presenting these options for those people out there who guns may not be the option. Of course, like I said before, my first choice would be the 12 gauge pump. Second choice, I think, would be pistol. I use 9mm. I'm perfectly comfortable with 9mm. I've seen what 9mm can do, and I'm perfectly happy with 9mm. But it's not for everybody. Some people don't believe that and will only use a 45. And that's fine, but I like 9mm because I can shoot a lot of it, and I'm very good with it. Versus if I go up to 45, I won't be able to shoot as much, might not be as good with it. So when you're thinking about that, just remember, your door is your first defense, and you need to consider that you need multiple ranges and that you want your far range that you can hit from the length of your home up to something like this, which has a 6 to 8 foot range, up to close quarters weapons. So if you cover that range of weaponry and that you're doing far, medium, and close range, and you have the capability of carrying 2 or 3 weapons at a time, when that door gets kicked in, you're covering all your bases. You're not likely to be, overtaken. For example, you are in your home, somebody comes in and grabs this shotgun, because it's a big, long shotgun. Someone comes in and is able to get the barrel and grab the barrel so you can't shoot them. That's a problem. Or likewise, say you have the pistol. You're walking around with a pistol, you hear noises, and someone whacks that pistol out of your hand with a baseball bat. What do now? Have your backups. And, there's a ton of other things you can use. There's brass knuckles, batons, asps, blackjacks, you name it, depending on what's legal in your state. But I just say, shoot for, you make a plan. Your plan should be a long range, whatever it is you can own or afford, a medium range, and a close range weapons. That combination, things that can distract your attacker for a second or two, are always a good idea as well. So, little things like that. Hope you enjoyed. And like I said, trolls, think about what you say before you say it, because I have a big audience, and not everybody is, a tactical cowboy out there, shooting AR-15s and running and gunning. Not everyone's doing that. Some people have kids. Some people are disabled. This video is for everybody, not just for you.